2, 1.
Boom, and welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Shin Gear. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
All of their stuff is phenomenal, no matter what you're going to get. Waders, jackets, bibs. Bibs are what I wear every day, so Shin Gear is the way to go.
I went with their backpack, is what I use for my computer bag now.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Well, you're bougie, so.
Well, I'm a bougie guy, you know. That's why I dropped off Louis Vuitton and went with Shin Gear.
Right, yeah. That makes sense, you know. It's a fair trade. It's a close trade-off.
It is a great company, great customer service, and it's the backpack has got like a lining in it where it protects my. It's just an amazing deal. Try it out. Go to Shin Gear. With us today from Wichita Falls, one of the most beautiful girls to grow up in Wichita Falls in the 80s for sure, Miss Lisa Roffman. Lisa, how are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing good, thank you.
The most beautiful. Did you have the big hair back in the day?
Yeah. Aquanet.
Went through it all.
Lisa looked like she walked out of a Rat or a Motley Crue
Oh,
video.
really?
Were you ever in a video? Because that's a fair question, because you had the look.
No, I never was in the video. I ran with the local rock stars, and including Pantera that used to come through Wichita Falls, and we'd party with them. So we went along with their image.
You were quite the partier, too.
Oh, yeah.
But that makes the story of who you are.
That is correct.
And you've had some health problems from your partying, right?
Yes.
Remember I told you we were going to talk about everything.
Yeah.
Are you okay with this?
Yes.
Tell us your story.
From the beginning, or?
From the beginning. From the partying to where you're at right now.
Well, before the partying, it started about 5 years old on a little dirt road, 23rd Street in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Dog Patch.
On the other side of Dog Patch.
Okay.
And it had a little community of maybe 10 houses, and we sat on a corner, and I had an uncle that lived on the other corner. So it started on that dirt road, grandparents raising us. My mom had went through divorce, and she had 3 kids, me and my brothers. So my grandparents, they did the best they could do with raising us. And along that way on 23rd Street, that's where a lot of the pain happened, hurt with my brothers and myself. Not all people are good people. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they say it takes a village to raise your children. That's the biggest lie I ever found in my life. That village that was help raising us were not good people. So along that street, I had an uncle that fondled me at 5, the earliest I can remember. That is a house of pain. That street was full of liars and molesters.
Jeez.
So that's the childhood you grew up in.
That's how it started. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever feel like you could ever tell anybody at like the school system, or you just felt like you were on your own?
I felt like I was on my own. There wasn't a safe place for me on that street.
Things were different, too, then at school. It wasn't like today's
No, it
world.
wasn't like today to cry out or tell somebody or, you know.
I mean, if there was an adult having sex with a kid, a 5-year-old kid's different. But if there was a coach that was 35 years old and he was sleeping with a 16-year-old girl, they just got him. He just left. Mm-hmm. There wasn't no story at 6 o'clock on the news.
Let's pause
What's that
just
noise?
a second. It's that her chair's broken. I'm going to bring yours in.
Okay. Your chair's broke.
We got a lot of large.
Is that chair squeaking?
We got a fat-ass guy that works for us named Blake Poppy from Nebraska, and he can tear up more shit. And I'm not being rude because I come at in front of his face all the time. Is that better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in that one, you can't, there's a screw missing, and he broke it, and you can't lean back, so.
That is more comfortable? Mm-hmm. And you
Good.
don't make noise when you wiggle.
Good.
Okay. Anyways, back to that deal. Back then, so things were different. So you had a 5-year-old, and you lived, and but none of the other adults would do nothing.
Or did you not tell anybody?
I was so broken at a 5-year-old that I didn't feel like I had a voice. I was just trapped into this little girl's body with no direction except for a grandmother's love, a grandpa's love. So when the molestation started with the uncle, back in those days, when I didn't want to sit in his lap and stuff, we got spankings a switch because we were disrespecting our elders. And So they just thought I was being rebellious because my mother wasn't home. And my mother worked all the time, and she was never there.
Now, was it theirs? It was your grandparents' son, I guess? So that would have been their boy.
That was
right?
my grandmother's brother. He was my uncle.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Your great uncle.
He would have been your great uncle. I understand now. So he was not your mother's brother or anything like that. He was
No,
your
that was
grandmother's
her
brother.
uncle as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Have you spoken to anybody in the family since? Was this something that he was doing to other girls?
He had a history with that, I guess. Apparently, he had fondled my mother and did things with her. Things were just not talked about. It was kind of those things they shoved underneath the table, and they didn't realize what they were doing was carrying it on to their children, you know, because it progressed.
Right.
And, you know, so when I'd hear that truck coming down 23rd Street, I would try to run to my Uncle Johnny and Aunt Flossie's, and I was little. And like I said, a little barefoot dirt road, and I would take off. But the neighbor next door, Victor Neal, him and his dad, they were really good. He was blind, and they were just ornery kids. But the house next to that was the Chapels. And if I could get past that house, because that house had another monster in it. He was a teenage boy, and he would make me stop and try to make me touch him and do things.
Good Lord.
And then if I could get past that house, I could skip on down past that other house, but then there was always this German Shepherd that chased out and got me and tried to get me, and he did get me a few times. And then I'd get to my Uncle Johnny's and Flossie's. My Uncle Johnny played the fiddle, and they drank beer, and they played banjos and harmonicas, and I just sat there. There was my peace until it was time to go home. And then when I would run back past the monsters' houses and get back home, apparently things had started happening with my oldest brother, Michael Don, because he was, about 10, 11, and trying to practice sex with me. So when it was bath time at Grandma and Grandpa's house, the nightmare would start over for me again.
Jeez.
So bath time became not an option for me, and then it became more spankings or switchings back then. And then just to wake up and do it all over again.
How long did this last for?
My stepfather came into my life, I believe, when I was about 6 years old. And Greg Ansel, and they came from the oil field and things like that. And he got my mom out of the bars, and they began a relationship. And they left us behind for a little while. They needed to see if they could work in a relationship together. So we had to stay at my grandma's for a little bit. By the time my stepfather asked my mother to marry him, he had 3 broken children on it, 3 broken kids on his hands to raise. My brothers and I were broken, not repairable. We were lashing out. We were angry. We were bitter, and we were hurt. So all he tried to do is to give us love and get us in church.
Were your brothers also being fondled and molested in the same neighborhood?
Come to find out, my oldest brother, he had been. Now, the middle age, Tim, if he had ever been, he never said so. Michael, before he died, he ended up making apologies to me, and he knew that he had done things, but those were learned behaviors he was doing. So it's not even like he was.
Right. It was things he picked up along the way.
It's crazy around people you see your whole life and you don't know nothing about their story, and everybody's got their own story. A lot of people have a lot of demons we all don't know about.
That's true.
And society fails a lot of people. We don't step up, and things were different then. I'm not taking up for anybody by any means. So if anybody's listening to this, that's not what I mean. Just things were so different then compared to today. I think today we went way far the other way. You hear about parents getting kids taken away for little things. Yeah. I read just the other day where some stepdad had a couple of little girls, and the mom was sick, and he gave them a bath, and the dad says he shouldn't be giving the girls baths. They wanted to arrest him. Well, hell, But then you hear about stories where someone's doing something wrong and you understand where that comes from, but the guy wasn't doing nothing wrong. That proved that it was an innocent thing. But you hear about that shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and this just goes back. Like my kids are not, 9 and 5. The youngest one's not in school yet, but the oldest one will come home and he's always talking about, well, so-and-so's mean to me. And you kind of look at that kid's home life and it's true. Like hurt people hurt people. It's all coming from something that they have endured in their own life. So they don't have any, they just think that's normal behavior is to hurt other people, whether it in the first and second grade, third grade, like it's, being mean is
99% of the time it's nothing.
Right. It's nothing. But,
just kids.
If somebody was ugly to you, it's just, look at their home life. Hurt people will hurt people.
So let's fast forward into high school. You get into high school. You get out of high school. You're a motorcycle girl. You used to ride a bike all the time.
Yes.
And you were in the bars a lot, right?
All the time. Every day.
Every day. And you were a drinker.
A drinker. I was a drug user. The drugs started first.
What was your drug of choice?
I was an IV drug user, methamphetamine.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I've been absent of that for 27 years.
How'd you get into meth the first time?
Because that's always one of those things. Like, you look at people that do meth and you're like, how in the hell does anybody ever want to put that in their body?
I found the high that took a lot of pain away.
Right.
I was promotional manager at the Stardust Club after school and had got into that line of work. And some friends and I socially would snort methamphetamine, and we would drink and just had a party lifestyle. So 1 out of 5 friends, I became the addict.
Oh, really?
And they went on with their lives and began having children, getting married, and I got left behind.
So
now is the Stardust Club, that's the strip club?
No.
No?
No.
Not that one.
That was the club in Parker Square.
Yeah.
What's the Stardust? Just a regular club?
It was just
It's
a
a
nightclub.
nightclub.
Just a
It
nightclub?
was a country bar, but then they had college night or something. It was
You remember the Stardust Foxes?
kind of, sort of. I never went to Stardust much. I was more of a Cheyenne's guy.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Jeff
I went
was
there
too
some-
good for Stardust. He was Cheyenne cattle
No,
company
it was just
guy.
a different kind of deal. Stardust was more Wichita Falls working people. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
And Cheyenne was more of a, I don't even know what I'd call it. It was college bar more. I would guess. I don't
think
know.
so.
But it just is
Yeah.
just a different vibe kind of there. Same people some nights though.
It was just a different breed of alcoholics.
Yeah. Randy Harper worked there, and he was a bouncer there. And I get a phone call one night, Stardust nightclub, like 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, hey, Jeff, this is Randy Harper, and we'd graduated together. Really nice guy. And he said, hey, I got your brother up here, and he got in a fight up here, and he's an MIP. And he goes, if he promises me he'll come home, will you make sure he gets home?
Anthony Joseph did this?
Yes. And I was like, yeah. But Randy kept Tony and Chris Copeland and some other guys. Tony was a senior in high school.
Got in a fight?
They got in a fight and was drinking in there underage. And Tony might have had my ID even.
Oh.
But anyways, he was at that place. But anyways, so back to Stardust. Use it. But what makes you want to give an IV of meth? Now, I've never done a drug in my life. So if I sound like a hypocrite on here, I'm not being a
That's
hypocrite.
okay.
But I'm going to ask questions because I've never done nothing like this. They say when you take meth, you get the best high you've ever had the very first time you take it. You never can reach that high again. Is that true?
Well, when it started off snorting it, it was just like a weekend warrior type thing. We would go to a girl's house, and back then you call it just buy a quarter. It was like $20. And then we would just share a little bag and all do a little line and go about our day. And then they sent me one time to that girl, and it went to another level. She said, y'all sure waste a bunch of 20s. And I was like, well, yeah, they just, we're just going to get high tonight or whatever. And she says, no, I'm trying to tell you, like, she taught me how to weigh dope. And this all started from just snorting it and buying a little, sometimes $10 bag or $20 bag. So she goes, I'm going to show you something. So she weighed this dope up, and she said, okay, I bagged this up. All this right here is yours. But you got to sell this many right here, 4 of these. And when you go back to that club and you sell 4 of these, that money will be mine. So I'm going to front you this. So then I automatically became a dope dealer. and didn't even
and you didn't even know it.
know it.
So you were selling 80% for 20% for free, basically.
Sure.
So you sold her $80 worth of dope, and you got your $20 bag free.
No, I sold her $100 worth of dope. 4 baggies were worth $25 a piece.
Okay.
And then out of that 16th, we started. I mean, I guess I got to keep about $100 worth of dope for ourselves to do for free or sell, or how I wanted to. She taught me how to literally sell dope that day. So I went back to
So you
the
were a
club
drug
and I
dealer
gave
then.
everybody their quarter, and because she fronted it to me, so I gave them that table that quarter. Then I walked around the bar, seeing who else wanted to snort some crank, and made some money on it, and kept a quarter for myself to do. And the next thing you know, it went into an 8-ball. The whole club's wanting dope. So I'm going in there and selling this girl's dope, and
She's making pure profit off you doing all of it.
and fronting it to me too.
So what's the most you were selling in a week?
At that time, probably about an 8-ball, and went up to a quarter ounce.
So what was that costing? How much money in dope were you selling? $500 a week?
Yeah, probably, at that time.
In late
And not
80s,
even really
that's-
realizing that I was a drug dealer in the process, in the making.
And you were doing it all for just your own habit.
Just
like
our
you
own
weren't even
habit.
making any money off the deal.
No.
But she started making money.
Yeah, I ended up during that time having
get
all that
there.
extra in my stash. Yeah, so
Right. So how do you approach somebody at a club? You're just like, hey, I got some crank. You wanna snort some, or how?
You know who they are.
yeah,
you would?
back then, a lot of people, would snort a little
Right.
crank or coke or whatever, and they would party. So,
But how'd you get to injecting it? Where'd that come from?
well, the addiction started, like I said, from the snorting it, and then while I was starting to deal out of my home, because I ended up getting more dope, and then before you know it, the dog patchers were coming over and they were buying dope from me, and then I watched people shoot it, I watched people snort it, and then I started asking the questions, like, what do you do when you all put that in your body like that, like when you shoot it up, and how do you do that? I didn't know how. And they said it's immediate effect. Mm-hmm. It's like some people that I was around that was drug addicts tried to warn me. They said, don't ever do that. That's just a different level of high.
And was it?
Yeah.
Really? Immediate, as soon as you plunge a syringe.
The first time I got high shooting dope, I never went back to snorting it again.
They say
That's
it's
potent.
and you never can get as high as it was that first time. Is that
Never.
true?
That's true.
I've always heard you chase it, and you never can get that high
Yep.
again.
What does it feel like? I mean, is it just does your
Immediate
body go
head.
numb?
Immediate head. It's like, thinking about it now, it was just once I shot that into the blood system, it just took me out of me. Mm-hmm. It was a high that gave me energy. It gave me power. It gave me self-control, like a weird way, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, again, nobody was going to take nothing from me because I had been taken from all my life.
Right.
So it gave me a real false
You had an
pride.
alter ego basically that came out.
Yeah.
Where some people get real schizophrenic and they get real nervous.
Mm-hmm.
You just became this.
You were the
alpha.
opposite of that.
Opposite.
Yeah, a lot of them get where I've dealt with them in court before, and they're real. What's the word I'm looking for? Where you're scared, schizo. You're
Paranoid.
You think paranoid. God, I'm losing my mind. I cannot speak today at all. Paranoia is real bad on a lot of people. Everybody's watching them. Everybody knows what they're doing. And you were the opposite of that.
I became very paranoid, but it was a different type of paranoid. What people would do, instead of picking on your skin and having skits sores, is what they call them. Bob Talley, he was with the task force. He always told me I was the cleanest drug addict he ever saw. Always had my eyebrows waxed, clean clothes on, clean makeup.
Yeah.
And the only paranoid that really went on was in my mind, because you knew that you couldn't trust these people. Mm-hmm. They stole, they lied, and they did anything
To get dope.
to get that dope.
What? So did you get busted?
Yeah, I got busted several times later on, yeah.
Did you ever do any time?
I got arrested 22 times in my life.
Wow.
And somehow never caught a felony.
So you never went to jail other than a day or two?
I went to jail. I had to sit 2 weeks in one time, and that was only in 2018. I got into a barroom fight, but that had nothing to do with drugs. I usually got put in jail, bonded out, got put on probation, and would complete my probation. But back then, they wasn't as stiff with probation as they are now. They would, today they urine test and do all that stuff. Back then, they didn't.
Do you think we're too hard on criminals or too easy on them?
Man, that's a debatable one. I think that drug addicts, we do things that we would never do not high.
Of course. I agree with that.
So that drug influences us to do a lot of things that we would never do.
Same with alcohol, though.
Same with alcohol.
But do you think we're too hard on them or too easy on them? Because I'll give you mine first. I think we use drugs and alcohol as an excuse for people making bad behavior.
Yes.
I don't think being drunk or being on drugs is an excuse to do bad. I as someone that's never been a druggie, mm-hmm. I have lots of addictions, but it's never been drugs or alcohol. I don't think it's fair for any addiction to be used for an excuse for doing bad things. I think if you get caught multiple times doing things, I think we need to make it tougher on them. I think prison should be tougher. I don't know if the system is really broken as much the system is the prison system's broke. We need to make prison rougher where people that go to prison don't want to go to prison again. And I don't know what the answer is to that because there's way too many people that go back and forth to jail all the time. You was arrested 22 times and you never went to jail. Never went to prison.
Never went to prison.
Do you think you probably should have went to prison forever?
Yeah.
Do you? Mm-hmm. And I'm not judging you for that. I'm just asking you straight up because you did some stuff you think if you went, do you think it would have changed your life or do you think you'd have come out and done the same thing again?
I don't know. I watched people go to prison and some of them came out and changed. Some of them came out and, in jail they found Jesus, but they didn't bring Jesus out of the jail with them.
Right.
They left Jesus behind in the jail and went right back to the thing. And then I know people that went to prison and then it changed their lives,
When we grew up, you didn't know very many people that went to prison. It was you may have known Joe or somebody that went to prison.
My brother, I knew, like when I was in high school, my oldest brother, he was already starting to experience jails, institutions.
But it wasn't so now everybody knows people that's in prison or been in prison.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. Mm-hmm. Oh, Jim's locked up, Joe's locked up, and blah, blah, and they get back out. And back then it wasn't as common a thing as it was.
No.
When you so you were selling drugs, you got arrested 22 times for drugs.
For different charges, not all sold drugs.
Was it a lot of it though possession?
There were several possession charges. There was a burglary of a building because we were high and we were bored and we broke into the flea market.
Well, if you're going to break into somewhere in Wichita Falls, the flea market is not the thing to break into.
That's what you call when you're on drugs. Your dreams and visions were very low.
The flea market in Wichita Falls, especially back then. I didn't know anybody kept anything at the flea market open.
Well, they had a lock at the very top of this door, and I was really skinny. So this friend says, hey, you can squeeze through it. And they pulled the door open, and I get in there, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I had a flashlight and hide, been up a couple of days. And then I hear freeze, police. Well, I'm trapped on the inside, and these two people are on the outside, and I just ducked and started being real quiet. I was like, oh, man, I didn't even know what to do, And then I heard my friend say something, and one of the cops says, no, the third party went down the road. Who would think that they had burglary systems at a burglary system?
I would have never thought that either.
They do. And so I was still trapped in that building, and the cop said, she walked down the road, the third party. Then a few minutes went by, and then they said, she's inside. So that means the other girl told on me.
Oh, they already got her. She flipped easily.
So they popped that lock and found me in that room, and I was just like...
So burglary of her habitation. Yes. Mm-hmm. So that 3 months probation, 6 months?
No. The cop that had to arrest me had actually had dinner with my mom the night before. And they knew I had a drug problem. So they arrested me and put me in jail. And my parents went and talked to the person that had that booth at the flea market. And that woman had grace, and she did not press charges with me.
What's the biggest charge you ever had? Did you get a intent to distribute charge put on you?
No, I got really lucky with that right there.
So yours was just in possession. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a really good deal then.
Yeah.
That's what kept you out of going to prison or to a lot more jail time probably.
I got caught up with organized crime and 2 dope cooks. One had told me the FBI is in on this one, and you're really not out here cooking the dope, so don't ever lie to them. Just give them a little, but don't give them all, is what he told me. So when the FBI and them called me into the post office downtown, had several of us in there, and they were asking questions like, how much dope did you ever see so-and-so have, or how much that, and so I gave half-truth. Well, I don't know, just dope. I mean, how much you ever bought from him for my use, and just gave half-truth. How much money you ever seen that person with? I don't know, I don't look in their wallet, and so I learned how to play along with the system, with the addict behavior.
Were you ever scared you was going to get locked? Were you more scared that the police were going to get you? You were more afraid someone was going to get onto you for narking on them?
We didn't really get the options to really narc on people back then. Back then, you just went to jail, and that did become an option. But, if you narked on somebody back then, well, it kind of narrows it down who the snitch is. Mm-hmm. So, you just usually went to jail, got bonded out, or they'll bond you out, and then you could try to fight it in the court systems. And honestly, back then, it wasn't too hard to fight.
Well, things nowadays with the drug cartel being involved everywhere makes things a whole lot different.
So what was the organized crime that you were involved? Like what family did you get involved with?
It's not like that kind of organized crime.
I understand, but what's the situation like?
Crossing the Oklahoma state line, going to get dope to bring over, and didn't know the FBI or the DEA, they had all been watching us all. And we had a certain circle in Wichita Falls that traveled to go get dope or to take dope to Oklahoma. And so they're not stupid by all means, and they usually have pictures. So when I got called into one of the drug dealers' house cooks, they had told me what was going down, what's going to happen, and,
So they prepared you for what was about to come.
They didn't want me in a lot of trouble. They already knew
that
there's not going to be no reason for us all to go down and fall.
Right.
What's the biggest or the stiffest penalties anybody with you got? Would you run around with people and went to prison for 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
Let's see. The stiffest penalty, Jackie, he is dead now. He got, I want to say 10 years fed time.
Doing the same thing you were doing?
Yeah.
What happened to him when he got arrested? How did he get such a stiffer penalty? Had more on him, or
He
what?
got a lighter. They were going to give him more, but then another person that was involved in this also, like I said, everybody just gave their half-truth because there was pictures to prove. And so basically what I was told to do by one of the dope cooks was I just got enough dope to use for myself, and that it wasn't enough to really worry about piddle with. So that was all. Yeah.
We know somebody, and I'll be very discreet here. We know somebody. They were skiing in Colorado a couple years ago. Excuse me. Marijuana's legal there. The place that he lives, marijuana is not legal. So he bought.
I know who you're talking about now. I couldn't remember.
He bought a bunch of marijuana for all of his friends that live in the state that's not legal. So he was going back to the state that he's from, and he gets to a state in between here and Colorado. He's on like the interstate or something, and they have a sign, drug checkpoint, 2 exits. So he's like, shit, I've got all this marijuana, and it's not legal here. So he takes the first exit he can, and that's where the cops are, at that exit. So pull him over. What are you doing? Blah blah blah. And he's like, oh, I just needed a stretch. Been a long road trip, and they're like, okay, well, do you have any marijuana? Because he had come from Colorado skiing. They're like, he told them yes. Well, they searched his car, and he said the only thing that kept him from doing serious time was they said, who is this all for? And he said, it's all for me. But if he would have told them, oh, so-and-so got this, so-and-so got this, it would have been intent to distribute,
Yeah.
and it would have been a totally different story.
That's exactly right, and that's how that's how a lot of people get by with a lot of things, is how they word
Right.
and what their personal use is, and how they're doing it to not get anybody in trouble, and you don't want in trouble either.
Yeah.
There's a lesser trouble when you become the addict or an alcoholic.
People are sympathetic to that.
Yeah, they can be. You know, part of my story was, like growing up, it's just the titles, labels. I was just an addict or I was just an alcoholic. The truth today is I was a broken girl that found a fix that temporarily changed the way I felt and gave me fake confidence, fake pride, fake love. It all still was fake.
What was the first time you used? How old were you?
The first time I ever used was junior high,
Smoking pot.
smoking pot.
What about alcohol? When was the first time you had alcohol?
Probably 7th grade.
Right around the same time.
Yeah, skate world days, moms would drop us off to the all-night skates, and we'd sneak out and run with the people that had the cars and take off to Lake Wichita and get drunk on strawberry wine and get dropped off by 6 o'clock in the morning hammered. Oh, and taking black mollies at Skate World.
What's a black molly?
Black molly's like speed, but it's a pill form.
It's barbiturate, isn't it?
I'm not really
I think it's
sure.
a barbiturate. I hadn't heard that term in forever, black mollies.
A black molly.
Yeah.
That again, like they used to carry mason jars and they'd come to Skate World and give us black mollies. So we, if I think about it, we really started selling black mollies in 7th and 8th grade.
But when I said sympathetic, you told that story a minute ago. You said, I was a broken person. It gave me fake this, fake that. Everybody on a jury knows someone in that same situation.
Yep.
So they're sympathetic to that. And so people are sympathetic to that, what happened. But if you're selling dope to other people, they're not sympathetic for that.
True.
Because they know someone else that's gotten hooked by somebody else selling dope. Nobody ever wants to blame the dope taker. They always want to blame the dope dealer.
Right.
That dope dealer wouldn't be in business if people weren't buying it.
It's true. I became so dependent on drugs and opinions and approval of everybody else that even the drug dealing wasn't successful. That ended, soon. Then I became just a full drug addict.
Did you like drugs more than alcohol?
Yeah, because I didn't drink a whole lot back then. My alcoholism didn't start till 2007
Is when you started drinking a lot?
when I met with my second husband. Yeah.
And did he drink a lot too?
Oh yeah, he came from the biker world. Had done penitentiary time, like 25 years or so, and it was just all about the party then. And I had 2 children, and I had been absence of alcohol, absence of drugs before my kids even came into this world. And I met him and became a party animal. Alcohol was worse than the drug addiction.
It was? How
For
so?
me. Well, it became a habit for me, and it's legal.
Right.
It's easy access.
It was legal. We're on those motorcycles every day and the biker lifestyle, and that was just all it was about party.
Right.
And after so long of that, I didn't have no balance of trying to even be a mother, a productive mother.
Yeah,
And
nobody
so-
thinks about, we'll have a beer. Be 10:30 or 11 o'clock. It's socially acceptable. You've been on the bike all morning, and let's just have a beer. Well, it starts there, and then it just continues on throughout the day.
Yeah.
And, alcohol is one of those weird drugs, and I'm going to say that it's a drug, and if you don't like that listening, then just whatever. But it's a drug. It's 100% a drug. It alters your state of mind. It affects you physiologically negatively. But there's always a reason to drink. Oh, you're celebrating? You're getting married? Let's have a drink. Somebody died in your family? You're having a funeral? Let's have a drink.
That's it.
First kid? Let's have a drink.
Who wants to go eat somewhere they don't serve alcohol? Nobody.
Right.
That's one of the first things that, they don't serve drinks, so we're not going to go there. I'm not a big drinker. I'll have a couple of beers a week, and Michelle's the same. She don't hardly drink much at all anymore, a glass of wine here and there. But if we go eat somewhere, we want to go somewhere we can have a drink, And if she wants a glass of wine or she wants whatever the hell she gets, a Chilton or whatever it is, but that's where we make our choice to go because it's easily acceptable.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't have to hide. You don't have to do nothing. You show them an ID sometimes. Why they ID 50-year-old people, I have no clue, but they do sometimes. But it's so easy to get a hold of. When you were locked up, you said one time was 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Did you know that, were you begging for forgiveness by the 2 weeks? Because you were completely sober by then.
No. 2017, I had made an attempt to try to quit drinking alcohol. I went through a divorce in 2015. And that's when I met Ken. He was the president of the Banditos, and my life, I don't know, unspiraled again. It was crazy.
Went from one biker to another biker.
Yeah, just to another level of a motorcycle club now. And Ken and I became friends for about 6 months, and we were only friends. And I seemed to found a little balance with Ken. And then my brother Tim, we'd been out on a Sunday dollar beer, drinking around town, and Tim had a motorcycle crash that day, and it killed him. Mm. And again, the drinking was uncontrollable. It started at 8 o'clock in the morning. As soon as It'll Do would open, I would go straight to the bar and be passed out by noon. Wake up, get a ride back down to my car, get drunk again. Just, it became...
What were you drinking?
Michelob Ultra and really anything.
So you're a beer drinker then?
A beer drinker and shot drinker. Jaeger and... yeah, Jaeger or tequila.
Oh, I don't know what's... That'd be a tough choice, which one I wouldn't want to have.
So when you go to the bar at 8 o'clock in the morning and you order your beer and do a shot of tequila or do a shot of Jaeger right off the bat on an empty stomach.
And would you ever have a hangover, or were you just perpetually drunk to where you never had to cash that check?
I became so unhealthy that, like I said, getting up in the morning, get the kids off to school.
Yeah. How old are your kids at this time?
25 and 22.
No, at that time they were, what, 10, 8?
High school.
Yeah. They were in high school. Did they realize what was going on?
They knew what was going on. They were just so glad that I got out of the second marriage.
Right.
We were so abusive to each other. Mm-hmm. And my kids got damaged along the way, watching the fighting, the argument, the arguments, the abuse that had happened, jail, him going to jail. And every time I called the cops or something, or the kids would call the cops, I would go back and reverse that and act like I lied, like I didn't want him to go to jail. So it was just a real weird thing. But my son left me, and he said he was going to live with my mom and dad, that he wouldn't be a part of my life if I continued to stay with that husband. Mm-hmm. And so that helped me hit a bottom with that. And the last abuse I took from that, I'm not saying by all means, I bled on him too, you know, but I ended up having to put a protective order on him and got him out of my life. And then I think it was in November of 2015, we had Thanksgiving, and my son was going to come home. I had made a believer out of him. He was sick of me just, you know, he wanted action.
Sure.
And so, yeah, he came home on that in 2015, November. And then Tim died in December 2015. And then again, my alcoholism, I didn't want to feel. I had never learned how to really feel. Mm-hmm. So I always changed things to, you know, change the way I felt. I couldn't feel pain. I had already started with drugs that relieved my pain as a little girl growing up and trying to fit into this world, already knowing that I was different, or I felt like I was. Something was just stuck inside of me ready to scream, and I never could let those screams out, so I blocked them.
Right.
And so when Tim died on that motorcycle, a piece of my heart literally went. I felt like I had lost the only man that really loved me. And Tim was not just my brother, he was my best friend.
Right.
So,
So what's the time? So when you started your journey with alcohol, had you cut drugs out of your life at that time?
yeah.
When did you cut the drugs out of your life?
Let's see. I was 2 years clean from drugs before I even got pregnant. So that would have been, I had my son in 98. So in 96.
96.
96.
No drugs.
No drugs.
And then no alcohol until 2015-ish?
No, my kid's daddy, we drank here and there, but not nothing,
not on
nothing
that
like
level.
that.
Yeah.
That relationship, coming off of drugs, I never healed either. So I jumped into a marriage and thought, he's never done drugs. He don't got no problems, and this is gonna save me. This is gonna save me. This first person I've met that doesn't do drugs and lives a semi-normal life, has a job, and so that did not save me. I ended up having an affair on him.
Too nice of a guy?
He was a good guy. I bled on him. I bled on my first husband, and we had our firstborn child together and married. And then 2 years into that relationship, I still didn't have no worth. I didn't feel needed. I didn't feel loved, and I had an affair. And I got pregnant with my daughter Haley. I went to go get an abortion because the devil is such a liar. I still didn't even know how to own truth. And so I didn't know how to tell my husband that I had had an affair. So instead, I just acted like I didn't want another child. There's no reason to have another child in this day of time because one's enough, and that's what we need. We went to Dallas to get an abortion. Still haven't told him I had an affair. And there wasn't no way to hide this affair either because I had an affair with a man that was half black and half white.
Oh.
He was
okay.
in college. And so, therefore, here I am pregnant. So it's like, how am I going to hide this?
Right.
Somebody needs to
Like-
change the wool.
Well, when you have a mixed child, you never know, is your baby going to turn out like the generation of the grandfather of the father of Co, or was the baby going to turn out white? Because
Right.
mixed babies are beautiful, but you never know.
You never know what
So
feature
I
is
was
going to be
like,
predominant.
again, trapped in my fear.
We're getting by Jerry Curl now.
Yeah, I was already like, oh my Lord, and my friends had me worked up like, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I don't know. And I mean, I'm not having the baby. So I got trapped in my head again with all these lies and went to Mockingbird Lane in Dallas and had scheduled an appointment for an abortion. Get in there to have an abortion, and the ex-husband, he's like supporting it and like, are you sure this is what you want to do? This lady that was holding a rosemary caught my hand, and they were protesting that day. She caught my hand and put a cross in my hand and said, God needs her. I didn't even know what the baby was, a boy or girl. We were only 4 weeks into being pregnant. And so I was trying to act quickly with this. And so as I sat in there, I opened some pamphlets, but I still had that cross in my hand and was trying to see how big a baby was at that time. They have pamphlets and things. They called me to the back room, put laughing gas on me. I gowned up and got my legs up in stirrups. Well, they went to poke on my arms, and I didn't have no veins. I had ruined my veins from using IV drugs. So I had a vein on my leg, and they said, we don't do that. This is too serious of a procedure to poke a vein on your leg. So they took the mask off of me, made me get dressed, and then referred me to some ridiculous place like in Kansas, Wichita, Kansas. So I'm stuck knowing this lie in my head and thinking, what am I going to do? He's out in the car waiting on me. And
He's
here
waiting outside on you?
Yeah, he was waiting outside because they told him it would take about an hour. So he stepped outside and he was smoking a cigarette and stuff. And then when I came out without assistance or in a wheelchair or anything like that, he was like, they already did that to you? And I said, no, they're not going to. And I just broke down and started crying, got in the car. And he was just like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to get an abortion. And it's like, no, we don't need another kid, and I still was letting pride and fear do that. And then I ended up telling him.
How soon after that?
No, it was a while. I went ahead and chanced with the pregnancy. He, he made a comment to me right before birth, and my nerves have been racked this whole 9 months
Oh, I bet.
of the
Gosh.
unknown. Even the sonogram showed my daughter to be having, it looked like she was going to have lips, and
Big no.
well, it was different. And so I'm not at all racial at all. I love everybody.
Right.
But I still have the sonogram picture, and I remember looking at that picture, and I went,
Going to hell.
and my mom said, she's going to have some lips on her. It was just those things that were coming at me, and I was still stuck in these lies. And so I was like, oh, I can't stand it no more. Like, I can't take this. And so they scheduled me, and because of my son being breech, I had a C-section.
Right.
And back then, your second baby was automatically
Yes.
scheduled for a date to be a C-section. So I got to schedule her for May 8th. And she was born 2021. And right at the last minute, I told my ex-husband,
She was born when? Not 2021.
I mean, excuse me,
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
2001, May 8th, 2001. And right before I was being packed up in the room to go upstairs, my ex had made a vicious little comment to me, a word to me, and that snapped him out of the delivery room immediately. And my dad and mom went in with me.
Did your mom know that this baby might be?
She knew.
And he still didn't know.
He still didn't know.
Well, I can't wait to hear this story now, how you tell him.
He still didn't know. But he made this rude comment because my mom knew, my friend Karen knew, Hannah knew, a couple people already knew the truth. So that's who I was venting to during this time of pregnancy. But somebody had made a remark right before they were fixing to take me and Sammy upstairs. And he had made some kind of remark about, well, I don't know. They were trying to break the ice for me, I think. I don't know, but my nerves were too shocked. Someone said, hope this baby doesn't turn out black or something like that, kidding him.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, you never can tell. He said, something about the wood barrel, hiding in the wood barrel.
So in the wood pile.
In the wood pile.
So
you knew that.
Yeah,
what
I've
I'm
heard
talking about.
I've heard that saying, yes. So did he had knew a little bit before then, you think?
No.
Oh, he was just being
No,
funny.
it was just
He was just
he
trying to
was
make a
being
comment.
funny, thinking I'd laugh it off because I knew that there had been somebody in the wood pile.
So
I got offended, of course, and so I said, "That's it. You're out of here. You're out of here." And so my mom and dad went up to the surgery room with me while we did the C-section, and they gave me my epidural and numbed me from the waist down. And I remember being pretty high on that stuff. And when I heard Haley cry, the only thing I could say, and my dad was trying to shut me up, I says, let me see her lips, let me see her lips. And my dad was like, shh, and I was like, let me see her lips. So we finally brought the baby over, and he's like, she's perfect, she's beautiful, Lisa. And I was like, she's beautiful. And I just started crying, and then
for the record, she is a absolutely beautiful lady.
she is.
She's beautiful.
And isn't it cool that the lady that gave me that cross, told me that God needs her,
Mm-hmm.
and then it ends up being a baby girl, and boy, has God used her.
So when did you tell the husband, ex?
I think about 4 months after the pregnancy.
Did he bolt after that, or was he stick around?
No, he stuck around,
Good for him.
and I told him how scared I was and what had happened.
How do you break that to him? Like, what do? You say, honey, come here, sit down. I've got something to tell you.
No, we were fighting.
Oh,
Well, that's not something to bring up during a fight.
We were fighting. He said some foul words to me, and I said, she's not your baby anyway.
Oof.
whoa.
Wow. That hit you right in the groin.
What did he have any suspicions?
No,
No, none at all.
no. She turned out she looked like me, a mini
Right.
me.
Right.
So
Well, you're darker complected.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So you've had a life up and down at this time. You start drinking again. You have some health issues. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you started turning people to Jesus.
Yeah. I went from living literally in hell from addictions to suicidal, life support. You name it, that kind of stuff has happened to me. But somehow along the line, I never died. I got put on life support. They were going to unplug me. I woke up. I had been on life support too long. I have been shot.
You've been shot?
Yeah, I was in the drug world. I got shot. I tried to run.
Where'd you get shot at?
In my leg.
How big a gun?
I don't even know. I went down to the other dope house and they poured Jack Daniels on it.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, they poured Jack Daniels on it, and I still got a piece of that bullet in my leg.
So you let one of them guys pull the bullet out of you?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
His name was Ricky Moe.
How bad was that? Does the Jack Daniels do anything at all other than sting like hell?
Man, it hurt.
Right.
It stung. I didn't even realize I had been shot.
Oh, you didn't?
When I turned to run from this person, him and I fought a lot, and he was borderline psychotic on drugs.
Okay, well,
He
just
is
tell us this story. So what happened? Are you doing a drug deal with him, or y'all just?
No, he was my boyfriend.
He was your boyfriend.
He was my boyfriend. This one had cut my hair off.
What?
He had done some things, breaking me more because he didn't understand that I had already been broken in the past, probably why I had came to drugs to begin with.
Right.
So everything that I said, he thought I lied. Everything he did, he thought I was doing. He was off in motels and sleeping around, being a drug whore is what they call them. And while I was trapped in this house all the time, he was out doing the dirty deeds. And he'd come home and take it out on me. That was my first attempt at suicide when he came at me. I took a whole bottle of sleeping pills, and I woke up in that one, thank God, and had told the woman that was there, because they didn't think I was going to wake up from that one either. But I came out of a panic on that one, and I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die, and she said, that's why you didn't die. And so I went to rehab for a little bit, and then, like I said, I got back with him, went to run from the driveway down the sidewalk.
Why were you running?
From him.
So he was trying to hurt you anyways. So he just decided he'd bust a cap off in you.
So he shot me. I don't know what it was. I never even went to the hospital.
God.
Never went to the hospital, ran down about a block down the road. I took a couple of steps and realized that had
Hit you?
the burn
Yeah.
hit my leg, and that stunned me, the blood. And I don't even know what kind of gun it was, if it was a high-powered pellet gun maybe, or I don't know.
So was it a pellet gun, not a rifle?
I don't even know.
How big was the slug they took out?
It was just a little piece of something. So, but I still got something left right here in my leg. So, but it went all the way through my leg.
It went through. Yeah, it probably wasn't a pellet gun. So go ahead, Andy.
Are you still you're still dealing drugs at this time?
By
you got
that
shot?
time, I was just living with a drug dealer.
Oh, okay.
And we were, I was doing drugs.
But is there like when you go to this house where they pull the bullet out of you, are the guys there not pissed off and trying to go get your boyfriend? Like, is there no like hierarchy of protection?
They were mad, but as far as protection, they were scared of this person.
Oh, they were.
And not so scared because this guy was crazy during his drug use, but he was also their supplier.
Oh, so
Whatever
supply
happened to
chain.
him?
He got clean.
Oh, good for
He
him.
did some penitentiary time, and he got cleaned. He serves the Lord now. He's got a wife. He's doing amazing.
Have you talked to him?
Yeah.
You have?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And just
We're
kinda
friends,
just-
all of us.
He
His wife-
apologized for shooting you.
He did apologize for everything when he came out of the penitentiary. He explained, drugs made us crazy, and he walked away from drugs, and he never went back. He moved on actually with the woman that I kicked the motel door in, and they ended up in a marriage and got married, and they're doing wonderful.
Okay, so tell me this story.
Yeah.
So you know that he's in the hotel with this woman,
Yeah.
and you're pissed off, and
I'd been stuck at home for a couple of days, and one of his girls came over and wanted some drugs, and he hadn't been home, and she knew that, and she told me where his car was, and so she gave me a ride over to the motel.
Let me guess. Wayfair Motel?
No,
Tradewinds?
it was the more upper class, like Capri Motel or something on Scott Street.
On Scott Street?
You know, one of those little $20 rooms.
I dropped a hooker off there one time.
And so I actually kicked the door open.
That's a rough place.
And there they were in position, and then
Oh my goodness.
and I took off and got back home, and he beat me home.
Oh, really?
And the fight was fixing to begin, and I just grabbed the pills.
So when you kicked the door open, you didn't go to swinging on anybody. You just opened it to see if he was cheating on
I
you.
threw a lamp.
Oh, okay. Did you hit anybody with it?
I don't know. I took off running.
You threw the lamp and
I
ran.
didn't want him to catch me.
But you knew he was going to catch you. Like you knew you had to go home.
I know.
Where all does this shit take place at now in Wichita? Because all them old motels and shit are gone.
There, it still goes on. It's over in my neighborhood. You see a lot of activity. It's just all around now. Drug doesn't even hide itself anymore.
No, it doesn't.
It's kind of like evil. Anything evil, it's all exposed. It exposes itself today, in this day.
You know what I blame a lot of the crime problems in Wichita Falls on? Is Section 8 apartments. Because when we grew up, all the bad areas were confined to one small area of town. The southeast side of Wichita Falls is where all the trash was. Good or bad, there's good people there. So I have a certain lady that I went to elementary with that always chews on my ass because I make fun of Bonham Elementary because that's where I went to school, and I called it White Trash Elementary, and I get shit about that all the time. But that's where and there was a lot of good people there, but that's where a lot of the bad stuff, bad elements were. Well, then when they put Section 8 apartments, it was all over Wichita Falls. That shit's everywhere now. Yeah. Like, the avenues were not bad in
Back
the
then.
70s and 80s.
No.
Now they're terrible.
Avenues is. I live in the Avenues.
Right. And
I live on, in the Avenues right by Old High. So you see a lot of stuff that goes on.
But it didn't happen there 30 years ago.
No.
It's horrible now.
When my stepdad moved us off of 23rd Street, that was one of the first neighborhoods we moved to, Polk Street.
It was a normal neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. It was nice and clean
Yes.
back then.
Yeah, and that area is really bad now. So we
Hold on. I want to. How do you cut your hair off? What happened there?
Well, I broke some freedom, and I had went to the mall.
You broke some freedom.
I broke freedom.
So he actually
from him.
He actually had you like on lockdown.
Yeah, I had broke some freedom while he was off doing his drug stuff. A friend of mine, Kelly, had came by, and I went to the mall with her.
Yeah.
And so when I got home, he asked where I had been, and I automatically had lied and said I had went to go see my grandmother, Peggy Ansel. She was my step-grandmother, and visit her for a little bit. I felt like I had to lie, like even going to the mall or do something like that. So that lie went good, and then came through the kitchen and came back into our den. We had a pool table and stuff, and there was a phone book. That's when you had the phone books open, and her name was circled.
Your friend's name?
My grandmother.
Oh, your
So
grandmother.
he called your grandma,
He had called,
Oh.
but you weren't there.
and I hadn't been there.
How does he cut your hair out? Like with clippers or scissors, or what's he do?
He grabbed me by the hair of the head. He knew he had already premeditated and planned it.
Mm-hmm.
What an evil bastard.
And he had grabbed me by the hair of the head, dragged me into the den, and chopped my hair off.
With clippers or scissors?
With scissors.
With scissors, just
for discipline.
like cuts it like next to the scalp, real close.
No, he just grabbed it all. I had long hair and just chopped it
Chop
all
it
off.
right there.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you get away from this dude? After he shot you, was that the end of y'all's relationship?
No.
You went back after that.
I went back. The drugs, easy access, and by then, like I said, I was very addicted to drugs. And so how I broke away from him was he ended up going to jail, and then I got into another relationship.
Another
Just a
bad
pattern.
guy?
No, Bill wasn't so bad, but Bill was an addict too. And I got in with him because some of the dope cooks started fronting me dope, and then me and him were just doing dope. And Bill was actually real sweet. He wasn't abusive, except for drugs made him do different things. Everybody had their own things in drug addiction.
What was his thing?
Bill was a cheater. Bill was broken, very broken, and Bill cheated all the time.
So he was promiscuous then.
Yeah. He was just all
So
about
Bill
it.
didn't last very long then.
Bill lasted for about 2 years.
God, that's pretty long.
Now,
But there was no hate involved with Bill.
You just went your separate ways.
We finally departed from each other. The cops kicked our door in, and they were, by this point, they have known me. They knew me. They knew I wasn't violent. They knew that some of them really figured me out. They just saw more in myself than what I could see. I couldn't see no worth in me at all. And what they saw was something different. And so I had gave a choice, and he said, you can go to jail with Bill, because we had robbed a meth lab, and we had all the stuff in our living room.
So somebody called the cops because their meth lab got stolen?
No, Bill was what you call
the
it.
cops just busted and y'all
Yeah.
had all that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought maybe.
Bill was letting too many people in, and we had all this glass jars of all mean is what they called it back then. It wasn't the stuff that they're doing today, all the anhydrous tanks and all this. This dope was like P2P, all mean, the real stuff, like where it took time to distill it. It was a cleaner version of dope, but it was still dope.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the stuff that was just sweating out of your pores today when you have all these sores and all that stuff. So we had robbed a lab in Dallas and came back, and Bill all of a sudden was playing big time drug. He's kingpin. And I told him, you're letting too many of these people, especially addicts, come in and out, and they're seeing all this glass and stuff being distilled and all this stuff. You're going to get us in trouble. Sure enough, the laws kicked the door in, and I was sitting on the couch, and Bob Talley, he looked at me, and I had tears in my eyes, and I was getting really tired. This was before my bottoms were coming, you know. My grandfather had got murdered, so I had even started doing drugs harder and harder at that time. He got murdered behind addictions as well, too. And so Tally looked at me and said, can I take you to your mom's? Or do you want to go to jail? And I looked at Bill and thought about it and told him that my mom wouldn't take me back in. You know, she was playing tough love with me at that time. And so he said, if I talk to your mom, will you go? And so he loaded me up and took me to my mom's, and I got away from Bill.
Just that was the time you got away from Bill.
That's when I decided to leave Bill alone.
What happens, like, that's ballsy to rob a meth lab, is it not?
When you're high, you don't care and you don't think.
Right.
You know, you think you're smart.
Right.
But you're not. But the person was high too, so, you know, he's hiding all this stuff in a trailer. He lives off back, and so in the front of his trailer, he's exposing all of his stuff. So when the word got to us and they wanted us to do them a favor and they were going to give us all these jars and stuff of dope, you know, you're thinking maybe $300,000 worth of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I'll go through the window.
Right.
And so I'm high, and we drive all the way to McKinney, Texas, and they told us there's going to be a front trailer. Don't worry about that trailer, because his house sets off about 2 miles behind. So we pull up out front, and I go jump out and busted the window and got in, and then their curtain alarm went off. So I yanked that off the wall and started handing stuff out the window, and we got back to Wichita Falls, and it was just
Nothing.
So there's some dope dealer right now in Dallas that's going to listen to this. He's like, son of a bitch, that's what happened.
That's
to all
where
that
that
shit.
went. But he was on drugs too, so it was easy takings.
It was easy.
So whatever happened to Bill?
Bill died.
Bill died.
Bill died behind his addiction.
Okay, so
In the penitentiary, actually.
So after Bill gets locked up, you kind of skated by on that deal, right?
From the drugs, I started going to AA and NA and working on myself, because every time I got back around Bill, I'd get high again. So I got back away from him. I went to a friend's house, and his mom was out of town, and I didn't realize what I was doing, but it was just, I guess I was detoxing. So he said, sleep in my room, and I'll sleep in my mom's room, and he was giving me pills, Xanax, and I would go in there and sleep and wake up, and he'd have like sandwiches made in the kitchen, and I would eat that and go back to sleep. And so I slept for about 3-4 days, and then started going to Narcotics Anonymous and got off drugs.
And you got clean.
I was totally absent of drugs from then on.
So that was the end of your drug deals.
That was the end.
So how did you? So I don't want to skip. So the next step is then you had some health problems, right?
Yeah. The health problem started with kidneys when I was on drugs, even before I got away from drugs. Started passing kidney stones, stuff like that, calcium buildup. And then that became better after I got off drugs. And then alcohol became a drug for me. And it's hard to determine what caused all the aneurysms in my head. But I had surgically removed 2 aneurysms. One was left on the left side of my brain, and only this 18 months, like healings, that's when all the healing started happening. September the 12th, 2022, I got diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver, stage 4. And I still had 1 aneurysm remaining on the left side of my brain.
How's your liver doing now?
My last sonogram was just a few weeks ago, and it says liver is unremarkable, no lesions found.
Because liver is the only organ in your body that will repair itself.
Can.
And not every one of them, but it can repair. But that's the only one in your body that can repair itself.
Yes.
So yours is repairing itself then.
Mine, yes.
That's great news.
Healed. I was told I'd need a liver transplant, or die. And that was going to be within the first 6 months to the year. And so I'm 18 months into it with nothing but improvements, nothing but good.
What's the most you think you drank in a day on average? What was your drinking?
Probably about half a gallon of Jaeger a day.
Oh.
And then I don't know how many beers.
I've never known anybody drink a half gallon of Jaeger.
It's
Do
true.
just change the minute. Do you remember the Vicks 44 cough syrup when we were kids?
Yeah.
That's Jägermeister, was not? It tastes just like it and looks just about like it.
Yeah, at Germany, they use Jägermeister as a medicine.
Oh, I can tell you.
Over here, we use it to get drunk.
Oh, I don't know how you could drink a half gallon. That makes my stomach hurt just thinking about it.
That's what made my stomach start hurting eventually.
Oh God, a
What's
half
that, Jaeger?
gallon.
When you finally get sober, is the hangover? What's the hangover like? Because you've gone all these years of just drinking morning and night, and never feeling the repercussions of your alcoholism. That first day sober, it's got to be unbearable.
Well, that first day sober, this round, I was in United Regional Hospital.
You were
sentenced to die, basically, or liver transplant.
Right.
Sarge, he's the substance abuse counselor that had seen me over the years, the self-destruction that I had caused myself between drugs and alcohol. He actually thought I had accomplished
What you wanted to do was kill yourself.
what I wanted to do. So with that being said, there was already bad news coming in, and I was hungover, drunk when I came into the hospital because I was throwing up blood. I had got to where I couldn't swallow things. I couldn't eat food. My body was rejecting everything except for alcohol. Mm-hmm. And it became very dependent on alcohol. And so when I threw up blood and my friend took me to the hospital, I passed out, and they kept me and started doing all these tests on me and found out that I was in cirrhosis of the liver. Well, at that point, we didn't know what stage because they had to go do a biopsy, but my liver was failing. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget Sarge coming in, and he pretty much clapped his hands. It's been nice knowing you, and you finally accomplished everything that life you wanted, And he said, he told me that him and his wife had kept me in prayers over the years, and that, but he wished I could have seen more in myself, maybe what other people had seen in me. And that's when he told me that it was nice knowing me, and the reality hit me that I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I want to be detoxed. Well, why would you want to be detoxed now? You're just going to probably leave here and go on out to the bar and drink again. This is the worst news you could possibly get. So, you drink on great news, bad news, any kind of news. Now, what's going to stop you from drinking now? Well, life started flashing before my eyes. Like reality. My kids are only this age, and now my new grandbaby. My mom's elder. All my family's dead. Who's going to look after Ellie? Who's going to help my daughter? And who's going to babysit? And, which I wasn't able to. My daughter had already cut me off at this point,
Right.
too, when she had baby Ellie. I wasn't allowed to be around them. They had chose to not have toxic being brought. She was breaking generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
So toxic was not going to be around her child ever. And even though I didn't feel like I was toxic to Ellie, I loved her. She meant toxic with the alcoholic behaviors.
Right.
I'm always right, you're wrong. The argument side that could come along with that. And so...
Good for your daughter, by the way.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
that
she
was
definitely held me accountable.
big
and
line
she let
in the
me
sand.
go. She broke the generational curse.
Yeah.
And so when they sentenced me to that in the hospital, I guess somebody had maybe called Haley. She wasn't answering me. Too many things had happened, and she's seen too many things, so she didn't care. You know, was this cry wolf again? Was this another suicide attempt? Was this just what do you call it? Another attention thing?
Cry for help.
Cry for help.
Another cry for help. I mean, she didn't know, you know.
Did you really, really, really want to try to kill yourself and just didn't succeed?
Jeff, I went live on Facebook, and I had fell into depression so hard that, you know, I told you I had an attempt of trying to get sober when we became part of this church, Compassion Church, and within 4 months I became like on a platform called a campus pastor. Like God had accelerated some stuff, and that's when the homeless ministry began, except for titles scared me and I ran. I didn't even know me. The only scripture I knew was John 3:16. And how am I going to stand on a platform and talk to all these people, homeless people, and teach them anything about Jesus when I don't even know any scripture? And that's how I was doing it. But God had his hand on that. He started the Holy Spirit. That's where the Holy Spirit came in and helped me and guided me so I could be careful and diligent with God's words and not false lead anybody. So instead it became testimonial. Mm-hmm. And I began giving testimonies about my life and the dark things that I had been through in my life, the things that I had experienced. So through that, the homeless actually related to me. Then some of them related to my story, and they realized that, wow, she's been through all that. I don't look like I've been shot. I don't look like I've slept in a car. I don't look like I stayed in $20 motels. I don't look like I was an IV drug user for sure, a junkie. And I didn't look like I had passed out to the beyond point where people would find me in parking lots, sleep.
Did you try to kill yourself legitimately, though?
This last go around about 3 years ago, I had tried pills already.
Sleeping pills?
Sleeping pills, Xanax, hydrocodones. I had tried every way possible. This was probably fourth, fifth time I had tried it, but never did succeed out of it. And the depression that fell on me the day I got the gun, I don't know what it was. I was intoxicated. Me and Ken had been fighting. So much darkness took over me that day that I remember I had no life. And that voice I heard was so much louder than any voice I could ever have heard in my life. And it was the words saying to me, do it. Mm-hmm. Do it. Nobody cares. Do it. So I got a gun. I didn't even know how to use the gun. So I cocked it. It was a 9mm. Went live on Facebook, put the phone there, and was telling people, and I had been crying, I'm tired. Y'all helped me get to this point, so you're going to watch me go out.
Oh,
you
Jesus.
can all watch it. And I started pulling the trigger, and the bullets literally ejected. They're still living witnesses to this story today. Wow. Pastor Lori, John Leggett, Jeremy Carey, Mona, my daughter, my parent, my mom, my dad's now passed. They all stood at the front across the street while I was going live trying to call my phone in while I kept blocking people's calls and to continue this live. And it was distracting, but I was still trying to pull the trigger, but bullets were literally ejecting. And finally, by that point, Ken had got word someone had called, your wife's live on Facebook trying to shoot herself. It was insanity, total insanity. Not only sanity, but the devil literally had took my head, my mind. I had snapped, and there wasn't no light, no way out of it but death.
So what happened on that deal? Did you end up in the hospital again?
My husband ran in and tackled me, took the gun, and the cops were still yelling out on the megaphone for me to come out with my hands in the air.
Oh, you had the cops there too.
Oh, yeah, they had blocked from Kell, all Taft, everything was blocked, road blocked. And they were in my front yard calling me out of my house, and I walked out with my dog, my little Chihuahua.
They sent you to MHMR?
They sent me to the state hospital, released me 1 hour later.
Right,
They didn't find that I had any mental conditions, and they didn't see that I had any depression.
All right.
How's that even possible? You were just on Facebook Live.
It's a joke of a system.
I don't know how it's possible, but they sent me home.
They can only lock you up for like 3 days.
I went home in an hour.
Yeah.
Came back home, got chewed out by Ken and some of his brothers. And why would I do that? I didn't even have the answers, why I did that.
And that was the last. What year was this?
This was in,
21. Ain't that what you said, Mingo? 2021?
no, the shooting thing didn't happen. It was in 2019
So that's when you.
before
ago.
brain surgery.
Okay. So after this, you've been sober since then, right? Or did you have another one?
No, I haven't had any more suicide attempts.
No, I mean drinking. Or from this point on, did you get sober, or did you used to have another?
Yeah,
relapse?
I got sober September the 12th when they detoxed me from the hospital. Sarge ended up going and calling orders in to detox me. I got detoxed September of 2022, and I came out of the hospital and came home and started going to Shattered Change Recovery on Friday nights. Got in church, was real sick. They gave me 3 months treatment. I guess I had went my whole life from drug addictions, didn't even find out I had hepatitis C until this liver acted up. So 2022, I got diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver, stage 4, and hepatitis C. They put me on 3 months treatment and killed the hepatitis C. And my life went from death to life.
So now you started saving people.
Yes,
And
Jesus did. But,
Well, he's
yeah.
using you as his vessel.
Yes.
The difference between you, we talked about this before on air. I'm not a good Christian. If you don't want to save yourself, that's you. I'm not going to go across the street to save you. But you're not that way. No. And you'll go to places nobody else will go to. Why the homeless people? Why has that resonated with you? Which I think is a great thing. I'm not knocking it. I'm just wondering why it's the homeless and not single moms. Why is it the homeless that has struck in your heart?
My whole life, I felt like nobody wanted me. And that's what I feel like homeless feels like. They don't have anybody. And ever since God has allowed me to go into the darkness, to be the hand, to help pull people to the light, there's been a lot of lives changed just because I became their friend. And not only did I just go give them a sandwich, I used to pull up in the truck and pop out a chair and sit in the alley or go under the underpass and sit there with them at nighttime and just talk to them.
Where is the homeless encampments in Wichita? That's the big one. Like in Abilene, I know where it's at. Where's it at in Wichita now?
Faith Mission's a good homeless.
Right by the old Kemp Library, the same
Yes,
old Faith Mission. So that's where a lot of the homeless hang out in Wichita Falls at.
Yeah, they hang there.
Okay.
And can
What
stay
bridge?
there.
Is it by the old Gibsons downtown?
That bridge right there is where I found my friend Joe.
Is he the one that passed away?
No, Joe's still alive. Joe, I kept going on every Saturday when I'd do outreach, but I'd see a bed and things I would leave, and I never could put a face on Joe. So one day I changed it up and went on a Thursday.
You tricked him.
And there was Joe. So I crawled over the train, got over the track, found Joe, and he was just like, "You're starting to become a pain in my ass," is what he said. And I said, "No, you're a pain in my ass." And he was like, "What do you want? I'm not going to church." And I said, "Well, I'm not inviting you to church." I said, "I don't know, Joe." I said, he's, "Well, what do you want with me then? I'm not going to church." And I said, "I don't know, Joe. You tell me what I want with you. This is not what I dreamed to be doing as a child." So I just got to know Joe. He told me the story.
What's his story?
His story was he was productive. He had a job. His wife had a Corvette, and they had a home in Dallas. She got in a car accident and got decapitated. He started drinking really, really heavy, and he ended up under the underpass because he couldn't afford his home no more. He couldn't go to work because he became unstable, not productive, and then he's been homeless.
Is he strung out on drugs or just was a drinker?
Alcohol.
Alcohol. Does he still drink?
No, yeah, he actually still does now.
He does drink now?
We got him into the Hope Center. My husband and I actually moved him in with us, got him a room at the Hope Center.
Your husband deserves an award for this already.
And Joe got distracted. He never got a chance to heal. He met a woman. And he ended up bleeding on that woman and never learned how to get healed. And so he is still on the street, and we're still working with Joe.
You know, that's a real issue that a lot of things deal with in the rehab centers, is these people that have a lot of problems get together and then they have a relationship. And I don't know what the percentages are, but I think it's pretty low on the productivity when you get in a relationship with someone else that's going through the same battles you are.
Well, a broke person can't fix a broke person.
No, not at all. But people get, their feelings hurt when you say that. But that is, it's not a good place to. I've known people that used to, back a long time ago, get sent to Red River in Wichita Falls, which is rehab. And then they're dating somebody from Red River. Then 3 months later, one of them's in jail for the same shit. It's just a continuing saga all the time. So
did you finally fix what was at the root of all of your problems? Is that how you've been able to thrive since, all of your last suicide attempt?
I had to heal.
Because that's the main thing. Like, you're not going to get better until you fix what the problem is.
No.
Right?
No. So, like I said, the problem started when I was little.
Yeah.
And everything that the world had told me was lies.
So how do you fix yourself? Do you go to counseling? Do you just finally have the rock that you need?
How I started fixing myself was going to Shattered Chains and going to church. And how it happened was I opened up the Bible and started reading the instructions myself, the Word.
Right.
Then how I started finding my identity, because I went 54 years of not even knowing who I was. I always, what the world said I was. I was just an addict, or I was just an alcoholic, or I was so broken on repair that I was just a nobody. My identity was stolen. I walked in the shadows of everybody else and always became second place and didn't understand why.
Right.
And then when I found my true identity, it was when the Word became alive to me, and I had somehow in that 3 months, I found a relationship with Jesus. If you think you're dying, you try to make it right with your kids.
Yeah.
You got a chance to just make things right. So I didn't know if I'd been praying wrong. I didn't know what I had been doing. Just to find out that He really had His hand on me the whole time.
Yeah.
I was self-destruction, and I just thought that's what people like me did, was just do dope. I didn't have no worth. So my relationships I picked, well, they were as broken as I was.
Right.
We bled on each other. But somehow along this marriage, he snapped and got sober. And, from him being a president of a motorcycle club, now he's in college to be a preacher.
Wow.
And God has used me. I had asked God during this time of sickness, I don't know if you can bargain with God. At that time, you can't bargain with God. It's going to be God's will, period. But I had talked to God, and I told him, if I get another chance, and I started bargaining, I'll do anything you ask me to do. And I had tried this prayer before,
Right.
And anyway, if I'll do anything you ask me to do. I'll go into the places that nobody else wants to go. I'll do this for you, and I'll do this, and I was just stick. And then I think I changed up my prayer, and that's when the real relationship happened. I started thanking him.
Do you feel like because I've not ever had this experience with God. Do you feel like God spoke with you, like in a voice that you could hear? Because you always hear that. Like, and I'm sure there's been times in my life where he has spoken to me and I've just kind of waved it away, maybe. I don't know if that's the right term, but I've never been for certain very many times. There's been some instances in my life where I felt like God was near me, but I've never heard the instructions and went forth. Do you feel like you have heard the voice of God?
I finally heard the voice of God.
And
I've heard the voice of God several times.
Really?
Yeah.
What's that like? Is it scary?
It's humbling.
Mm-hmm.
To know that we have a creator, God,
Mm-hmm.
and that really had his hand on me the whole time, which I didn't understand. I mean, I did pray.
Right.
But did I truly believe in things? I mean, I guess so, or I wouldn't have prayed.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to believe in something. But when I started dying and found a real relationship, and then I changed my prayers to the help me prayers, or I'll do this for you and I'll do that for you. And then I realized it's your will. It's your will for my life.
Yeah.
And if I've got to die, I just thank you for letting me find you first.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for letting me make time with my family so I didn't have to die, by suicide,
Yeah.
drunk. And I started giving thanks, and I started thanking him. And then somewhere in that 3 to 4 months, I had to put full trust in him. So I started trusting him. And I started telling him I trust him. And I started listening to different music. And some songs I found healing because I found myself singing. Then I noticed my little granddaughter, when I'd be in my living room singing this one song in particular, I pray for your healing in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name is the name of it. My granddaughter reached up and she touched my stomach because I'd have my hands in the air, and the grandbaby touched me and she would sing, I pray for your healing.
Wow.
In Jesus' name. And she would do things like that. And I didn't realize so many things in that Bible. There was so much truth. Our tongue is a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Our tongue and our mind, we can speak life or we can speak death, but you can't have both. And once you open the Word of God, you either live life or you die.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to live and let the Word tell me who I was. Let God tell me who I was. The world had already told me who I was, and it was a lie. Mm-hmm. I believed it. So that was causing death.
Yeah.
And when the Lord started healing me, I got a choice to live or die. I chose life.
When you go to the bridge and everywhere with all the homeless people, have you broke through at where they trust you now, all of them?
Yeah.
Because they don't trust a lot of people at first, so it took you a while to get where they do it.
I think it becomes, you have to become friends with them. And like for me, everybody has a mission, and mine just became different. I wanted to get to know people. I wanted to find out their root, what started their problem. It became deeper for me when I found out that, when Jesus said in the Bible to go out and heal the sick and cast out the demons, and so in his name, well, I didn't really put any of that stuff to work. You hear that stuff about it, and you do that, but over the last 6 months, when I'd go out and pray for somebody and somebody was in pain and I would pray, and instant relief would come from them, and they didn't even know the Lord, but they still got healed.
An incredible story.
That's kind of what happened to me. It's like I put my faith in the Lord, and then I just started thinking positive, and then I changed up my prayer, and somehow down the line I started healing. And then, I am worthy. He calls me worthy. The world didn't.
God definitely has a plan for you, Lisa, or you wouldn't still be here, because all the stuff you've went through and all the different things.
When I didn't have a friend,
Mm-hmm.
the Bible says that he's my friend. So it's like all those things I was missing in my life, it was all right in front of me, and it was all trying to talk to him and have that relationship to even start trying to find the identity that he had gave me and the callings that he put on my life that I ran from. And then I ran back into, because I'm still serving the homeless, but now in just a different season. It's a different season for the homeless for me. It's the relationship's already there, so now I've stepped out in bold faith, and I pray for them. We cast out demons in Jesus' name, and we watch things leave people's body. But now, with this ministry starting the way it has, well, the Bible says that if you cast out a demon, it can come back on a person 7 times more, 7 times worse. So then you got to find these people, and you got to discipleship these people, read them the Word of God, give them the truth to keep their mind free and the demons out.
What's it like fighting a demon? Is it scary the first time? Or do you realize that that's what you're going up against? Or you just feel like you're praying over somebody?
Well, I fought them all my life, having them.
Right.
And it used to be kind of like stepping out into that faith. But those that believe that those words are true, that Jesus said it is actually truth.
Right.
So sometimes now I've become, I'm confident because I know the Lord's brought me to do everything that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And everybody does things differently. I've let the Bible come alive. I've asked God to let me go into the dark. Never to go back to live in the dark, but to only step into the dark to grab the hand to pull it to the light. Mm-hmm. Whatever he needs me to do to use me, and he's used me.
So now that you have this this trust in God, has being around these people, has it challenged your sobriety at all, or are you confident that that's dead and gone? Because that's a legitimate question.
Is.
Like you're around all the stuff that was your vice for so long.
So during the time of healing, alcohol almost killed me. Mm-hmm. You find out with alcohol, it changed the way I felt, and it almost killed me. It was meant to destroy me. So that's one of the things that, I allowed to happen. But this time, after being set free from it and almost dying from it, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, if the Son sets you free, you're free indeed. So he gives us choices. I could run back to the alcohol and change the way I felt at any given time, but I'll never have freedom with it.
Right.
I've experienced true freedom.
Right. And you're not going back.
I'm not going back. He freed me. The smell of it, the desire, the taste, any of that stuff, I don't have any of that no more. Wow. I'm able to help anybody. I could be around alcohol. Do I choose to hang out with party people? No. Common sense. I shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
So the homeless on the street, I can smell the alcohol, and sometimes they have their beer in their hand, and I still have friends that drink alcohol. Mm-hmm. And but that's, none of my business.
Right.
When they get ready to change, or if it has affected their life, so many friends over this last 18 months have reached out. They're in church, or they've got sobriety going underneath them now. So it's not only with the homeless. God's just allowed me he's used me for so many different people, because people did know how wild and dark I was.
Right.
So if I could change, well, why couldn't they?
What are the percentage you think of the people that are homeless that are addicts compared to just people that are down on their luck?
There's a high percentage of people with addicts and alcoholics, and then there are just a small percentage of people that might just be lazy or might not have been raised
with any initiative. Mm-hmm. We had a guy on our podcast a couple of years ago, it might have been 3 or 4 years ago, called Homeless with an iPhone, and it was a guy in Austin, Texas, and he told us that, but he was not of a addict. I think he smoked marijuana, he told us, didn't he, maybe, or something?
He was in Austin, so probably.
Yeah. We look judgmental over there. Oh, so anyways, but he told us that the biggest problem he had with the homeless was that the meth addicts had taken over.
He was on the street by choice.
And he said
he liked the lifestyle. He didn't want to pay rent and all this other stuff. So
he loved the freedom.
I like the freedom of it. I can be here tomorrow and I can be there the next day.
Modern day gypsy kind of or hippie kind of guy.
Yeah.
Some of them do that. There was one about a week ago. I asked, "Did you need any prayers?" And he said, "Well, we can always use prayers." And I said, well, do you have anything in particular that I can pray for you for? And he said, maybe just my health. And I was like, okay. And I said, everything else going pretty good, huh? And he said, I woke up. And I was like, yeah, you did. And he said, I'm breathing. I ate. I was like, yeah, it's just simple for some of them. And, you know, that's true freedom. This guy had peace at it, and he didn't seem drunk or an addict or anything.
Right.
He just seemed at peace with freedom, period. Everything free.
Yeah.
You know?
So you do run into some people like that.
Sure.
And those people are probably more hard-headed to do anything because they're choosing and they're happy with what they're doing.
They're happy.
They don't want no changes. They want to go where it's warm during the wintertime, and when it's hot, they want to go somewhere up north where it's colder.
Sure.
But the meth person and the alcoholic, those people, you have to fix the addiction to get them to get some help a lot of times, correct?
Those people, the only thing I can do with them is be the walking example.
You are that. Is there a hierarchy there where people, like, is there a king ding-a-ling under the bridge of the homeless people that bullies everybody else? Or
Oh, sure, yeah.
there is a lot of that going on?
You'll see some of that. I'll go to Barrel parking lot, and I like to just pull up over there. Scotty Kemper and I and Mona, several of us get over there, and we pull up, and we have our little Homeless Lives Matter, and they take off running. They see us because they know we're going to have some good stuff. And not only that, I call it the good stuff because they're going to get hugs.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get love, understanding.
So they'll come to you then.
They come.
Have you ran into the head dingling that don't want y'all messing with other homeless people yet?
Sure.
Threaten y'all?
No, I've never been threatened. I've had a couple kind of bully, like, you know. Are you talking about homeless, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That try to bully and don't want the other people around you.
Yeah. I had one guy look at it's my other wedding ring, and it's about a 2-carat diamond, belonged to my mother. But he said, aren't you afraid somebody's going to rob that from you? And one of the homeless guys that just graduated a program, he said, I'd be scared of the person that tried to take it from her. And he's a big old boy. And I was like, right? I said, I don't think I have to worry about my jewelry. I can take care of myself.
Well, you've got a servant's heart.
Have you ever been in a situation where you were nervous on dealing with the homeless people?
About 5 years ago, I had a knife pulled on us.
Why?
We were in the projects doing outreach. And Kyle Egan used to walk around with his Bible in his face like this right here and read. And so we were out feeding people. And I turned around and glanced and saw the guy pull his knife out. And I said, put the knife up now. I said, here we are out here doing the Lord's work, and you're going to be ugly? And I said, put your knife up now. And Kyle was alert by that time and seen the knife. And I said, put it up. And then put it up, and I gave him a sandwich anyway. And I said, give me a hug. He gave me a hug. And says, why would you do that? Why would you pull a knife out when someone's out trying to do something good?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Did he have an answer?
No.
That is the old grandma love.
That is.
That is the big mama love.
Put that away. What are you doing? You're making a fool of yourself.
We don't have that in the world no more in society. Every neighborhood back in the 60s and 70s, probably 50s, had that old grouchy woman on the block that would chew on your ass. But she only done it because she was trying to make things better for everybody. But we don't have that no more. No. First of all, kids are disrespectful nowadays.
Yeah,
they flip her off and say something bad to her. Where we were scared of that lady. That's a good thing, though. But that's what that was. That was a woman that physically you probably can't hurt that guy, but you've intimidated him because he knows you're not scared, and what you told him was exactly right.
Yeah.
And nobody talks to him like that. That's a great thing. That's one of my favorite stories you've told today, and you've told some great stories.
Is that the thing? You just have to go down there with confidence in the Lord, confidence in yourself, and not let them see an ounce of back down in you. And and you gotta. I mean, it's a tough line to toe because you gotta let them know that I'm not somebody to mess with. But you also have to have a compassionate element to where they can trust you and open up to you. So it's true. A tough thing that you have to. I mean, it's a fine line that you have to walk to get these people to help them.
Yeah, they see love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it's at.
All from love.
It's all from love. You can't help anybody. You can't do anything to anybody without love.
Right.
I'm going to call out some churches here.
Uh-oh.
Because there's a lot of hypocrisies in churches. And anybody that says they're not is lying to themselves. because we've all been to that church where everybody looks and judges everybody that walks in the door. I go to a church opposite of that because I'm not going to say every, but a lot of the, what would the word I'd be looking for in Knox City, the people that don't fit in, including me, that's where we all go to church together. It's our own family of people. Andy goes to a snobbier church, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I don't go to a snobbier church. I go to an old church
that's very well structured, and there's nothing wrong with that because I've went to church and I enjoy going to church there too. But have you ran into that problem in Wichita Falls where some of the upper crust churches in Wichita kind of turned their back on y'all, or have you had them open their doors to y'all also?
Well,
I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm sure.
my husband and I came off the motorcycle. He was in a cut that said President of the Banditos MC. My cut said PBLOC, Proud Bandito Old Lady. I mean, I think about it now. It is kind of goofy. It's not who I really was. But, it was kind of cool for the mentality.
Yeah.
For the seasons I've lived in. But I remember walking in the church, and at the church I go to, Pastor John Gardner, he was stoked. He thought that was the coolest thing ever.
The church should be open to everyone.
He was.
It's the ultimate success
Even
story.
going to the altar,
Yes.
I went to the altar,
So the churches have been open in Wichita about helping you with your stuff?
Not all.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. That's what
You'll find that the church, there's a lot of churchy stuff. I don't know if you know what that means. Churchy stuff is,
I call that fake church.
well, I think God just gave me a clearer vision of things. Like, we are the church. When we fill ourselves with the Word of God and we live a godly life, we become godly people. If I fill myself with church, I become a churchy people. So this season, for some reason, I've run into Dawn Thompson and some things were spoke to me, it's just came alive, and it's been for the kingdom. I love Legacy Church. I think Pastor John Gardner does a good job. He rides a Harley. He thought it was cool. Now, when we walked in, some of those people had watched Gangland, from TV. Mm-hmm. So they were straight up like...
Sons of Anarchy's here.
Yeah, when we walked in, and there was a lot of looks and stares and up and downs, and my tattoo's showing, and she's a weed snorter,
A weed snorter.
Yeah, those
She's
looks.
snorting that weed.
She's been snorting that weed over there. Look at all those tattoos. And you get those kind of people. And, we just got to remember one thing. It don't matter what church you go into. If that's all you're looking for all you're going to get is church. But when you go in broken and you're trying to find something to fix you, you'll find God.
Because I'm a judgmental son of a bitch. I'm not going to lie.
He'll be those. She's smoking that weed. She's smoking that reefer.
Yeah, she's
Snorting that reefer.
I've had to really work on myself a lot of times with judging some people. Mm-hmm. And I'm a very good person, basically. I try to help people. I really am. But I also judge people, which is a sin.
Because you were a judge.
Well, but I was judgmental before then too. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm just judgy as a person. I see people, but I don't mind helping people, and especially I like to help people that try to help themselves a little bit. But I do judge people. But when I see someone that's got a good heart, my preacher texts Cox like that because me and him have had arguments about people in town, and I'll be like, "That's just a rotten, no good person." You just don't know. Yeah, I do know too. You're a good, godly person. You see the good in everybody. I see the realistic side of people a lot of times, and there are some shitheads in life. There really are. But it takes someone special to minister to people that have got lots of problems and stuff, and fight through their armor to get to them to help them. And so I really respect people like y'all because I can't do that. I try so hard. Now, once I get to, if you're my friend, you're my friend for life, and I'll do anything I can to help you. But a stranger that's a screw up, I'm out on that deal.
I don't think I could help in your situation because I haven't lived it. I think they would smell the bullshit on me. I think that they would.
You don't have a lot of street cred.
No, I don't have any street cred. None at all.
You don't have no gangster
No,
drives, no slangs.
No, nothing. Well,
the perfect kid
I
to
listen
raise.
I listen to rap music, so I know a little bit. But
The perfect kid to raise. Never got in trouble. Never done anything. Graduated college real fast. Honors. Good kid. No street cred at all.
I would feel like they would sense the bullshit on me, and they would not be as open to talk to me, because I think they would feel like he's coming at it from a different angle. You know what I mean? Not an angle of love.
Yeah.
Even if my intentions were true.
My husband, everybody's differently.
Yeah.
We all have a calling. We all have purpose. Mm-hmm. And so I'm the love bug. I'm kind of the opposite of what I was when I was younger.
Right.
So that's what God has gave me, because I was so broken. I get to serve the brokenness.
Yes. Yes.
Since I've been healed from a lot of heartache and a lot of mind darkness, suicidal things,
Mm-hmm.
I get to serve people that was doing that kind of stuff. So I get to deal with the dark a whole lot,
Right.
because that was the life I had.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be able to help somebody suicidal to even help them remotely understand how that mind could take over, how there could be a demon
Right.
in your head. And sometimes, I didn't know it was something, maybe a demon in me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't realize that until, really honestly, about a year ago. I didn't realize I had a target on my back since I was just a little girl.
Right. From that early trauma.
From 5 years old and up, I had a target on my back.
Just an easy prey for a demon to...
Pain, shame, guilt, condemnation, that all came on me.
Right.
And I lived it.
Easy pickings for a demon.
Yep.
Easy place to live. That's why I like... Jeff has a very, very special preacher, that the church that he goes to, because he was not your cookie cutter preacher. He had a normal life. He had his trials and tribulations. He had his dark time. So whenever... It's going to sound terrible, but whenever I hear his preacher give a sermon, it impacts me more than the guy that I listen to every Sunday. Now, why we don't go to that church is a different reason, but a lot of the preachers in these big church organizations, you realize that they've never had much hardship past, your typical, it's hard being a human. It just is. Everybody's going to have their own trials and tribulations, but people that have truly been to that darker side and have lived to tell the tale about it, the way that they speak and the way that they deliver a message is so much more impactful than somebody that just, had a normal life. So I always, whenever we go to his church, I'm always, doesn't even matter what the sermon's about, I always leave feeling like he lived that life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. My pastor had a little bit of a past with alcohol and stuff like that. He's been a Christian man for many years now and walked away from that lifestyle. The depths of the darkness, I don't know how much of that he's lived, but it seems like he's understanding, like with no judgment.
Right. Yeah. You
on
could
the
go
other
to him
hand,
with a real problem rather than if you went to somebody that, they might look down on you if you went to him with an issue that you were having.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, church is definitely for sick people. We're seeking something that we hadn't been able to find in the world. Mm-hmm. And then some people can do it, and they find God along other ways. I like church personally because I like to hear my pastor preach. He's a truthful pastor. Mm-hmm. I don't like that sugarcoating stuff.
Yeah, I don't either.
I want somebody to tell me the truth. I was lied to all my life.
Yeah. Tell
me the truth. I've hit that point in my life, and it's sad that I was 54 years old before that hit me. But tell me the truth. I want you to be truthful to me about everything. Mm-hmm. And he will get up and tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. There was times when I went to that church that I felt like he was reading my soul.
We're talking right to you.
Talking straight to you.
Yeah, and before me and Ken actually, became members of that church or anything, I can remember him talking about that drunk out there partying on Saturday nights, drinking that, coming to church, speaking in tongues on Sunday mornings, and I was laughing. But there was one time he started talking about alcohol, and so when we first started going there, and he was talking about brokenness. You can't fit in anywhere you go. You're just rejected. And he was just talking about stuff, and I was just like, got my phone, and I started trying to get nervous, and I felt like the Holy Spirit was directed right to me.
Yeah.
And then I was like trying to look up, and it looked like he's looking at me, and I started acting like I'm talking to my husband and doing weird things, and Ken's like, what are you doing? I was like, I feel like he's fixing to call me out.
Call you down
like
there
call
and
me straight to the altar.
bonk you on the head.
Because I've heard him a few times too. Don't make me do it the old-fashioned way. If I have to start calling y'all out by name, I will.
Whoa.
That's how much I want y'all to get your life together. And he started doing stuff like that, and I started thinking, I better start getting down that altar or something. But like I said, all churches are just different, and I think the most important thing is to open up the Word and find out for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it's good to have someone pour into you, and it's great to have someone that pours in the truth and lead you in the right direction. But Jesus says follow him, that he is the way, he is the truth, he is the light. Sometimes when we go looking for opinions of others or approval from others, we're going to get let down by people.
Yeah.
People will let you down.
Yep.
Yes, they have forever. I want a preacher that tells me the truth, and I want a preacher I can understand. Because I've been to church before when you're thinking about everything but church.
Yes.
That's one thing I do like about Texas. I get involved in it, and I pay attention more than I have any other person I've ever listened to. I listen, and I really, really, really listen a lot because I enjoy it. But I don't like all the other stuff that goes with church. I don't mind putting money in the plate. I don't mind hearing about what's going on in town, people we need to pray for, and I want to hear the lesson. And my church is such a bad deal with me on hugs that they know. Even the women will come up now. Oh, I know you don't like to hug, Jeff, and they'll shake my hand. I hate the touchy-feely part of church. I don't know why. I do. It bothers me. Some people, that's an outlet to get loved on. I don't want that.
Sometimes that's the only physical affection that somebody will see is on church on Sunday.
I got a
That's
wife.
it.
I got 17
I know
grandkids
that,
and 3
but not
sons.
all
I'm
of
not
those-
missing that.
Not all people have that,
Right.
though.
But for me, I do. And it doesn't. So I don't need that. I don't like all that stuff.
A lot of people, and that's what it is. Different strokes for different folks.
Yes.
My
it is.
husband being in the military, the Army, and then being the club he was, and he's a Yankee. So I don't partake in that.
He's from Iowa. That's not really a Yankee.
I don't know. I call it straight up Yankee. I say cabinet. He says cupboard. I say potato. He says potato. It's like bicycle, pedal bike. Like
Well, pedal bike. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
That is pretty Yankee. I'll
they
give
call
you that.
it. That's Yankee. That's Yankee.
Icebox?
So he doesn't
Is it
like
an
the
icebox?
hug? He doesn't-
Icebox was y'all's generation. Aren't refrigerators icebox to y'all?
Basically, a sofa is a divan or whatever you want to call it. It's different times. A Coke is a Coke. Everybody, they call it Pops up north. It's a Coke.
Soda.
Yeah,
Soda.
Yeah, soda.
And
Yeah.
they got that. They pronounce those O's like soda. That's the strong part
Yeah.
of it.
People up north, the guys that work for me up north would be like, "Y'all want a Coke? Yeah, what kind? "Oh, Coke. Yeah, Coke means Dr. Pepper, Sprite, whatever you want." So, is he a hugger?
He is affectionate with me.
But everybody
But
else at the church?
No.
See, I don't like
He's
that.
old school. Like my friends try to send him Facebook requests or they'll try to add him in a group text, and he doesn't even partake in none of that stuff.
I hate group text too.
Because he's pretty focused,
Yeah.
He goes to school and then he goes to church and he maintains the family and this life that we're living now. He's head of the household. He's a godly man. So I didn't really have that before, so I didn't let him take lead. I still tried to take control over my life. Like I
And the
said,
Bible says man is the king of the house.
the man is the head, women are the neck.
That's right.
And that right there has been a hard one for me, but I have finally came better at being submissive instead of over talking him or do anything. And submissive don't mean like that funny thing like
Pushover.
saying like, well, it's getting about time for you to go make me a sandwich. It's not
Right,
that kind
right.
of
That's really
submissive.
that's a pretty good system right there.
That is.
The Bible says thou shalt obey thy husband.
Well, the Bible also says, like, we will know them by their fruits. And what that means is if he's bearing good fruits, like, say, he's in charge of our household now because he's decided to turn his life over to God. And not only that, he's letting that word come alive. So he's trying to understand and teach me, because that's his responsibility to do so, so I don't fall or I mislead anybody or do anything. So I have to trust him for the guidance as he's called to do. So he wasn't living a very fruitful life before when we're, cussing each other out or hitting each other in the head. I hit him with a baseball bat one time, and we've done some stuff. We've done some stuff.
Makes a good story though.
Yeah.
How do you read the Bible? Because I have a hard time. There's a lot of first of all, there's a lot of names you got to get through in Genesis, and I don't know, getting to like the meat of the Bible. There's a lot of stuff that you got to get past. So I have a hard time getting started.
So it works differently for everybody.
Yeah.
The Old Testament is where Genesis starts. That's from where the beginning of it. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm backwards. My daughter told me. It's sad. My daughter helped raise me. I think she did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
she fought through.
She got there.
She was supposed to be here. So she told me, read Psalms and read in Proverbs every day and start in John. So I read a little Psalms, I read a proverb, and I read John, or now you get further into it and you just, learn to balance it out. Now that we're in Bible University school, we get modules. So we're able to go through like the New Testament and stuff like that. It's become easier. He's been in school for a year. I'm just now starting it. So it's the little things that the Lord has just led me to see in the Bible that I really need for myself right now.
Right.
Because the first 3 months, the first year of sobriety, it was really about just learning how to love me so much where I didn't even want to take the drink no more.
Right.
And watching the healing happen, the relationship that took action.
Yeah.
And then the rest has just followed. The rest of the stuff, the family lined up, God didn't save me so my family could be broken or they couldn't heal too. So cleaning up some of the wreckage I caused and knowing what alcohol caused me to do, and then my own chaotic stuff, I became toxic.
Yeah.
That's when my daughter let me go. She told me that, she broke generational curses she was breaking them. Her daughter would never, ever be around a drunk, and she wouldn't have to grow up feeling like that or seeing that. She did it.
Have you read the Bible, Andy?
Not all the way through.
I can't do it. I've tried
It's one of my goals.
and I'm a reader. I love to read, but
there's a lot of good.
I get lost.
Lots of really, really good stories in there.
There's I don't know what Bibles you read, but my husband just bought me an December Amplified. Mm-hmm. It's just like reading a story. It's so clear, but it's also abbreviation. It will do the King James Version stuff. But it's hard for me to read that he, thou, shalt, and all that stuff too, because it was like...
It's like reading Beowulf in high school again all over. My secretary at the city bought me a Read the Bible in a Year book.
Yeah.
You read one deal about it, and I lasted about 13 days on it, and I get lost. But when I go to church and I listen, and I don't go to church enough, and I'm trying to, and we've been going to church again now, and my grandson's got a lot to do with that. But I get more out of that because I learn something every time I'm in church. That's one thing about Texas sermons that I like is I learn something. This week we learned about Barabbas, who they let out of prison so they could put Jesus on the cross. I did not know that story before. I'm 56 years old, and I did not know that story. I didn't know there was a Barabbas ever there. Now I'm interested in finding out who Barabbas is. But I will go home from church and I will look something up on the computer because something questions me that I'll learn, that I'll retain. You're
wanting to learn.
And now I'll probably hear Barabbas. I heard it last night on a damn show after. It's crazy how you don't know nothing and then you hear about it and then all of a sudden you hear about it.
And I'm a fact checker too, so I'll get to reading something and then something will pique my interest and then I get on my phone and then I start researching that and then the phone is an act of the devil because then that just leads you God knows where. Like you started out, trying to figure out, like Jeff said, more about Barabbas, and then all of a sudden you're on Facebook scrolling endlessly.
Did you know about Barabbas?
I knew that there was, they did a switcheroo.
Yeah. And I did not know the story about that they decided that the people wanted to nail Jesus and let Barabbas out.
Yeah.
But the Bible's an amazing deal. What you're doing is an amazing thing. And for the people that are non-believers out there, I pray for y'all.
What's your book right there? You keep opening right there.
Oh, I had wrote down just a few little scriptures. It was like kind of a, well, it's no kind of to it. Identity, like your identity when you pray to the Lord and you ask Him what your identity is and who does He want you to be, like who has He truly called you to be.
You take notes in church?
Not who. No.
Michelle does.
I don't. I used to, and every now and then the pastor will say something with scripture, and I put it down on my phone notes and stuff, and I go home and research, like, you said y'all do. But during all this brokenness and stuff that the world lied to me about, that's what the devil kind of did. Because even when I looked in the mirrors, it was distorted. And my mother tried to get me into pageants and World of Wills and modeling and doing that stuff, and she thought that kind of stuff would help build confidence, and it just really didn't do anything like that. But John 15:15, He calls me friend, so I found that to be interesting. Like, He calls me friend.
Yeah.
That means He knows me. I didn't know Him.
So you know Scripture now?
No, not real good.
I know none.
Not real good. I'm a lot better than John 3:16 when I first started.
Oh, I'm below John 3:16. I know none. If someone starts spitting Scripture out, I'm like, you win.
That was on a platform. I know more about that platform.
Yeah.
God's humbled me enough to know that leadership is not about that platform. I need to stay off that platform, for the kingdom of heaven is big. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to go out and reach people, He's using me differently, not in four walls. It's outside of the four walls. So the Homeless Lives Matter ministry that God gave to us, it wasn't branched off other ministries. It wasn't like, well, we'll do that, or it's not under a church name. It's not anything. It was going out, and He gave visions. And some of those visions were for the homeless. They need exactly what I needed. Some of them. Then also say they wasn't homeless. They're just your average drug addict or alcoholic. We know also that some alcoholics don't want to get sober. Some druggies don't want to get off drugs. Mm-hmm. But then there's those ones that do. So the street people need all the things that I needed. They need love. They need truth. They need understanding. They need classes. They need recovery. They need weekly church. They need maybe even a Wednesday night service. Right. They need a fun night too. Let's do a Christian karaoke. Let's do everything under one roof. And you got a food closet, and you've got clothes. One requirement that I'd like to have for when God will allow us to have that building downtown to do discipleship and mentorship and Bible studies and recovery with them is that it'll just, by example, we can teach them self-care.
Yeah.
You can be poor, but you can take a bath.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in poverty on 23rd Street. 23rd Street was a little run-down shack. That road, I hated baths, but I told y'all why.
Yeah.
I had an older brother that was practicing stuff he had learned.
Yeah.
My stepdad broke me from the bath because he didn't know that kind of stuff had happened. So when I'd go turn the water on real quick and splash it around, and I'd run out, and he'd go, "Did you take a bath, Lisa?" I'd be like, "Oh," and he'd say, "Go in there and check the wet rag," and it would be dry, and I'd get in the bathtub. Well, he took a wire brush one day and scrubbed me, and it hurt. It wasn't wire, but it was just a hard bristle brush. I call that borderline abuse. That was abuse. And I remember crying in that bathtub, but I always took a bath after that. And the boys didn't have no business in the bathroom when he came into our life.
That's a good thing.
And so I got to get out of fear of taking my bath. And plus he put fear in I better take a bath or he would give me a bath.
Right.
And so took my bath. But I want to teach the homeless that self-care. You can be poor, but you can be clean. All these clothes that get donated to the homeless, some of them walk around still in the same stuff for a week. They're dirty. They stink. They can get haircuts. They can, brush their teeth. They can get all that stuff and don't have to look it. Mm-hmm. You can be it, but you don't have to look it. And plus, we know as well as, it feels good to take a shower in the mornings. It feels good to put on clothes. So we want to encourage the homeless and any brokenness. They don't even have to be homeless. Self-care.
I tell you what amazes me is the homeless situation in Wichita Falls. Growing up there, when I was high school, there was a black guy that lived under an old dock by where Oak Farms distribution used to be. I don't even know if Oak Farms is still down there. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's in the very end of Indiana, I believe, or Ohio, one of them streets.
Yeah, I know.
And there was an old dock there, like a shipping dock or something, old freight deal. And there was an old cement looking deal. And there was a black guy that lived under there, and he would pick cans up. And a buddy of mine worked for Fields and Company, which was a plumbing supply down there. And he would come by there every day and go in and get a drink of water or something. That was about the only homeless person I knew of. Now there's hundreds of them
all around
town.
town.
But it's every city in the United States, and I don't know what the problem is. I don't know. I know what the problem is. I don't know how to fix that problem, because a lot of them, that's their choice, and then a lot of them are addicted or whatever. But it's still their choice. But I don't know what the answer is to fix that problem. And what you're doing is a great thing, and I hope you can get more people off the street. But I'm betting you, for every one you take off, 2 more are there the next day or something.
They come in off the bus. Yeah, they do.
And that's just crazy that they.
We got some new ones right now.
They come out of a bus to Wichita Falls. Why the hell would anybody? I don't know why anybody wants to make a lot of living wants to live in Wichita. I like Wichita Falls, but it wouldn't be my destination to choose to go live from anywhere.
No.
So I can't imagine a homeless person thinking Wichita Falls, Texas, is where I'm going. It just blows my mind. I can understand San Diego. I could understand South Padre Island.
There's some of them that come from there to here.
That's nuts. I just it's crazy, but a big proportion of them are strung out on drugs, and that's who's selling the drugs to them people down there. That's something they need to try to stop. Also, meth is a cheap drug, though, isn't it?
It's been so long since I've done drugs.
I think it's pretty cheap.
I don't know.
There's not very many of them snorting cocaine down there.
No. Most of the ones that I do see that have drug problems are, they're already on the street and they're high, so you don't ever get to see any of the drug deals or anything like that. And every now and then you can see one of the little Cadillacs or something pull up and talk to the homeless. So maybe, when you think about downtown, well, drugs are everywhere anymore, so it's not even like you got to go to a direct location for it.
No, every neighborhood's got them in.
Everyone. So the ones that are on drugs, but alcohol seems to be most of the problem I see.
Easy access.
With some of the homeless.
Yes. Well, I mean, anybody can get alcohol. If you can get $2, you can go to a store, a 7-Eleven, and buy a beer or what's that shit Ed used to drink?
Malt liquor.
Four Loko.
Four
Locos or something. What the thing that breaks my heart the most is kids that are homeless.
Yeah.
And it just that kills me. I mean, I'm telling you, if I see a kid homeless somewhere, it hurts my heart so bad. I grew up poor, but I didn't grow up without anything. I don't ever remember being cold. I remember always having soap and water, and we always had food. We were poor, but we didn't go without anything.
Right.
Those kids have nothing. I can't imagine you're safe, because a kid likes to go to his room. Close the door. You're in your room. It's your space. You don't be doing nothing wrong. You just like going to your room. I bet Reese goes to his room sometimes, don't he?
He's always up our butt.
Well, okay.
He's got the option, but
it would be nice if he did, right?
Yeah.
But you
boys go to your room.
You boys would go to your room.
Right.
That was your place to go. Close your door, and it's your space. I can't imagine being a homeless kid and your space is in the back seat. I mean, there's nothing. That's terrible, and I don't know how to. I wish we could fix more of that. Anyways, you've been a wonderful guest. You've had a great story, and we wish you the best. Tell people how they can get a hold of you if they'd like to help.
Homeless Lives Matter, Wichita Falls, Texas, 940-605-6211. We are right now almost finished with our 501c3, and then we'll be in hopes of a building downtown. We have our first event that we're going to have April the 20th. It's called Freedom Event. We've got Dawn Thompson coming, and as you can see all these mugshots, some of these people have been in the same situation I've been, that have been set free. So actually, what I thought was just going to be a start of a little event has actually turned into a revival.
Well, good.
That's awesome.
So we're going to be doing baptisms, and also in the avenues, there's going to be a crosswalk, which means the unity walk that was going around Wichita Falls. It was like different ministries and different churches. They were walking all across Wichita with the cross. They gave us the cross for this event that day. So we'll have another crew going through the avenues, preaching the gospel. And so that's April the 20th at 1 to 6 all day in Bridwell Park. And the phone number I gave y'all and information, we have a Facebook page. And we're just waiting to see what God does with this ministry. He's done so much already with this ministry. And I'm excited to see what else he's going to do. Like when we get that building downtown, that's going to be the place we're going to be able to pour into people more. Because sometimes it takes more than just that 10 minutes on the street or running into them here and there. You know, we want a place where they can come in. The mission does good. They have a place for them to sit, and they also have a program they offer. And not everybody gets to get in that program, or not everybody qualifies for that program. And some people don't even have an ID, so they can't even get into the shelters. So they do sleep in sleeping bags and tents. So we want to be an operation for the homeless to where they can come in and, you know, have some soup or have some coffee and get a Bible study or have someone to talk to and do some things with them. The things that worked in my life is what I want to be able to offer to some of these people on the street.
You've done a great job.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you so much for coming out here and telling your story, and you're doing amazing work. And
thank you for inviting me.
Been over 2 hours.
Leave me one of those brochures, and I'll put that up on our podcast page. We have a private Facebook podcast page, and I'll do that, and people can reach out to you if they can help any at all.
That would be great. We do appreciate everybody's involvement, you know.
Yep.
Some people that aren't able to give, that like to serve, just come to serve.
Yeah.
Serve with us.
Perfect. Well, listen, it's been an incredible episode. So thank you for telling your story.
2 hours. Done a good
Almost
job.
2.5.
Whoa.
Done good, Lisa.
Time flies.
Thank you so much. God bless you. You're doing great work.
God bless you. all. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Watch for deer.
Peace out. Bye. Doing a good job.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go check out our amazing sponsors. Go check out Mallard Bay, Double T British Kennels, Mossberg, Stanfield Outfitters, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Hemp Hill Farm. Use our promo code BHP, Ducks Unlimited, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Podcast, Shin Gear, Dirty Duck Coffee, Dive Bomb Ministries, Pacific Calls, BHP 25 is promo code there, Boss Shot Shells, and MLR Graphics.